Okay, so this is about guidance and feedback. What it says in the specification is with reference to stages of learning. Just to tell you now, you'll make notes, but stages of learning mean are you beginner, intermediate or expert? So depending on where you are in your kind of skill set and how, whether you're a professional at something, you're going to be very different to the amount of guidance and feedback you get to when you're just learning something. So that's what it means. So for everything here, I'll try and bring it back to stages of learning, but guidance and feedback within sports psychology. Okay, guidance. You just need to know the 4 different types, and then we'll go through which ones are best for what. It's any way that you can convey information to a performer. So the best one I can run through really quickly here, and we'll go through a bit more detail, but if I was going to do teaching, and I have taught some of you trampolining, visual, I would say this is how you do it, and I might get somebody to perform it for you, or this is somebody doing a seat drop. Verbal would be more likely if you were on the trampoline doing something, and I would say, look, you need to tuck your feet in more, you need to point your toes. A manual within that, kind of an assist, would be using the pads. Maybe some of you might have had help getting somersaults, where the teacher actually gets on and helps you with a somersault. Okay, mechanical would be the aids, would be actually getting the ropes. Maybe on some trampolines you can see where they attach you to kind of elastic bands so you can't actually fly off. So that would be a mechanical aids. There'll be loads of other examples within other sports, but that's just to show you how all of the different ways in which we can guide you as a performer if we were your coach. We were trying to tell you. Okay, so you will need to know which ones are best for which type of performer, whether that's beginner all the way up to elite. Okay, to start with visual. An image tends to last longer than any other form of guidance. Develops a mental image. Again, just to think, if you think about trampolining, so a lot of teachers, myself included, will show you this is exactly what a seat drop looks like. Legs here, arms here, hands here, to show you. It's very valuable. And for the beginners, for best, if you've never seen it before. Otherwise, if I just said you go and do a seat drop and you've never seen a seat drop, you'd have no idea. So we've got them there, the idea that we could give you pictures, video, demonstrations. You may have had teachers film you when doing something so you can get the feedback and the guidance straight away. The pictures with trampolining or table tennis, this is exactly how you hold the bat. This is what your hand should look like. This is what you should look like when you're doing a front drop. All of these things are your visual aids and your visual guidance. Easily taken in by the learner, avoids long verbal guidance. For me to explain to you about a seat drop would take a long time. Whereas if I say, look, here is a perfect seat drop, and then get you guys to picture it, oh, that's where the bat goes, that's where the head goes, I don't actually have to tell you that because you've seen it. The idea that you can show it in slow motion is fine, very, very beneficial if given straight after a learner's performance. So again, some of you may have had a teacher that says, video you and show you and say, look, this is what you look like, this is what you should look like, and show you another visual aid. Right, so it can be combined all the time with the verbal as well. Very good, and I'm sure within any sport you want, you can think of when a teacher, a coach is giving you some form of visual. This is how you use your foot. This is, showing you something. Okay, verbal, used immediately, can be used whilst the performer's in motion. That's the idea that I gave you of trampolining. Okay, do that move again, but this time point your toes more. So you can stay on the trampoline and keep doing the move, whatever it is, and whilst I give you the actual feedback. Okay, I could use it, it says here, to direct the learner's attention. So that would be me saying, okay, point your feet more. Straight away you've got verbal feedback, and you're going to point your feet more in that move. Hit it higher, hit it lower, hit it longer. Whatever it is, you might be taking, in table tennis, doing 20 serves. Okay, bit of verbal feedback. That was too short, that was too long, more spin, less spin. Okay, always the same. Okay, tends to be used more without visual as the performer becomes more experienced. So the better you get, I don't need to show you anymore. Okay, I can just say, legs straight. I don't need to say, here is what your legs look like straight. So verbal is maybe when you get a bit more experienced. Manual and mechanical can give support in potentially hazardous situations. That's important. So the idea of within a somersault and trampolining, we're there to help in the first couple of times when you're getting used to it. Can help build up confidence. It's a big thing. Those of you that have got up to somersault, that first time you do it, you do need the help, and then slowly you get more confident, then you realise that the coach, the teacher doesn't have to be there anymore. It can prevent some errors. Okay, it can help participants with specific learning difficulties. So we're there to aid some parts that they need help with. Maybe they've got a limb that doesn't work properly or isn't there, and you can actually help them do something, by manipulating them in a various way. Okay, it provides variety, and again, often used within beginners. You wouldn't need an expert, you wouldn't need somebody up there to help you because you already know how to do it. Okay, you wouldn't need somebody to help move your foot to take a penalty if you're already a football player. Okay, so it's only going to be used in the beginners and when some of these problems, either learning difficulties or confidence, exists. Some of the examples: use of armbands. Okay, so that's mainly in swimming. The harness I've spoken about in trampolining, which is when a harness it attaches to you, stops you from moving around. Holding a performer's wrist in tennis to guide them. Okay, and you might have had that in table tennis. Sometimes I've taught pupils where they really just weren't getting a shot, and they actually need you to show them the topspin. This is what a topspin feels like, and move their hand and maybe get them to do a couple with you holding their kind of wrist. And that would really show them, oh, okay, I get it. And they get that feedback straight away and be able to do it. Standing behind a golfer at the driving range, okay, same kind of thing, taking them, you're going too high, I've got to bring your hand up here. Okay, and you see other mechanical things at the drive range as well. Okay, copy this down, please, but in note form. I'm just talk you through it, but I think you just need to have that understanding of where it goes from beginners to experts. So beginners, visual guidance, okay, because we're still understanding. Verbal guidance, but it can't be too complex. I can't say, oh, do this, do this, do this. It has to be very simple things, and likely to have manual and mechanical support. Whereas experts, you're not going to need visual guidance anymore, okay, unless it's really breaking down what they're saying here. Slow motion, they might just be able to show one tiny little bit of a fault in a golf shot or a cricket shot. Or just in table tennis, they might say, look, you just went a little bit too far on the extension, so you just need to come in a bit slower. So they would still get it, but it'd only be to really highlight small things. The experts need verbal guidance. It's likely to become longer and more complex. So fine-tuning technique, longer words they don't understand, they wouldn't have understood as a beginner, they now can use. Okay, and they're not really likely to need any mechanical or manual guidance, so it's only going to be that kind of verbal guidance for experts because they're at that stage of learning. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, moving on to feedback. We've spoken briefly about feedback. It comes as you perform something, and you guys get feedback all the time, whether it's in English, maths, science, PE, football, on the playground. Whether you tell a funny joke, you get feedback from your friends straight away. You're always in this loop of doing something, getting feedback, doing something, getting feedback. Did it work? Did it not? Will I repeat it? Okay. It can be received before, during, or after performance. It can be positive or negative. I hope you understand that. Well done. I want you to do that again. That was not good. Never do that again. Okay. Positive and negative. The idea of you can have it as results and performance. We'll go into a bit more detail. And I've spoken briefly as well about extrinsic and intrinsic. And I'll go through each one now. Okay, positive is when feedback that accentuates how well the performer's done. It's generally given when success has been achieved, and that is going to be used for beginners. One of the steps that you've become an expert and become better at is when people are able to give you negative feedback without you, getting in a huff about it and taking it really seriously. Okay, every professional sportsman will be getting lots of negative feedback all of the time. Not because you want to lower their confidence, but because they're so confident in what they do that they need to know how to fine tune. Nobody gets fantastically good at something if they think they're amazing and doesn't take on any negative feedback. So positive feedback for beginners, negative feedback is going to be for experts, because they really need to know those little things that they did wrong. In a game of football, you're talking 1-0, it might be one defender that got one very small thing wrong, and he needs to know to make sure that he doesn't do that again on a cross, that he doesn't lose that guy, or he doesn't, whatever it is. Okay, knowledge of results versus knowledge of performance. Knowledge of results is feedback about the outcome. It went in, it went out, you won, you lost, whether something has been a success or not, may be given to us by others, achieved by internal sources. The feel of the movement, Okay, knowledge of results, best for beginners. Knowledge of performance is feedback about the movement itself and the technical elements involved. Was the actual movement carried out with the correct technique and action? It does not involve information specifically about the result, although the correct movement also does bring about the intended result. So you might see a lot of people, I'm just trying to think, that do something maybe in tennis where they're not actually watching whether it goes in. Maybe even golf actually is a good example. When you hit the ball against a net, you don't actually know where it's going. You're not getting any knowledge of the result, but your knowledge of performance, whether it felt good, you would know whether it's, whether something in your swing, if you're an expert, was good, whether you got the ball off the ground. All of these things, even though you haven't got a golf course to play on, will be giving you knowledge of performance. Okay, extrinsic and intrinsic keywords. Need to make sure you understand these. Extrinsic, okay, is external is the way to remember this. So this is people outside of you. See here, generally received by the coach, or the teacher. Well done, a family member, blah blah blah. Best for beginners, because as a beginner you don't really know what is good and bad yet. So you have to be told. You have to get extrinsic feedback. That was a fantastic shot. You might not know why yet, but you start to build that up. Whereas intrinsic is about the internal. It comes from the performance themselves. Okay, it's received via proprioceptors of the muscles. So that is that idea of kinesthetic feedback. If ever you've kicked a football brilliantly, or a rugby ball, or you've hit a golf ball, or a tennis ball, a table tennis ball perfectly, you just know. And that's that kinesthetic feedback. You know when you've kicked it that it's going over, it's going in, it's going whatever. Before you even have any extrinsic feedback about whether it was good or bad. And that was that example I gave of a kind of a rugby player. You get it a lot. The kickers at goal, they'll kick, and before it's even gone through the post, they'll be running back. They know it's gone through because they've got the kinesthetic feedback that they caught it right, they struck it perfectly, everything, the movement felt right, the position of the joints, all of that was good. The speed, the strength, everything. And you do know when something goes well, it feels particularly good. Again, beginner to elite, just make sure you write these down and you understand it. May be demotivated by negative feedback, so that's why we've said about the beginner needing positive feedback. They can't understand complex feedback if you're a beginner. So your feedback on performance best with I cannot interpret complex feedback on performance. Okay, so it's better with the beginners. Cannot provide themselves with feedback. Okay, so you need extrinsic feedback. That's when you need people to tell you. Okay, elite form are the opposites. Happy with negative feedback or more accepting of it. Okay, they can interpret complex feedback, and they can provide themselves with their own intrinsic feedback. Okay, that's it. Quite a lot there, but as long as you understand what a beginner looks like and what they need and what an elite performer might do, have a few examples with the trampoline and things like that. That's it. All good. Thank you. Bye.